are some of your guiding principles in life that help you keep going? Be that things from faith or just things outside of faith as well.
We are a mosaic of the people around us. It also ties into another thing. I'm sure you've heard of this. Like you are the 5 closest people in your life.
Yeah.
But I'm going beyond that because
Right.
even other people in your life, as little as influence they have, does contribute a piece of themselves to you. And so for me, what that tells me is like I need to surround myself with the best possible people. Surround myself with like hardworking people. Surround myself with intellectuals.
Yeah.
Bible-loving people as well, faith people as well. For me, like there's an added layer to that. So at least my inner circle, I need to have like people that I want to like have a bigger influence in my life, and they need to have a very positive influence. So like that's what's important to me. I've been learning to like only let the positive influences influence me.
Hey Titus, how's
Hello.
it going?
I'm going good. I'm doing good. Yeah.
Good. Before we get started, let the people know who you are, what you do, any likes and dislikes in personal life, future aspirations, anything and everything you're comfortable sharing about yourself.
Went straight to the nitty-gritty. But yeah, I'm Titus. Titus Leong. I'm from Malaysia. I'm a national student. I am 22 years old this year. No, 23 this year. And I'm a mass communications major. And yeah, you said like aspirations, right?
Yeah.
Like dislikes. So like I love music. I love listening to music, playing music, not quite making music.
Okay.
That's not my creative area of creativity, I should say.
Okay.
Like I like to make videos. I like to shoot creative style videos, and I'm also a huge motorsports fan, specifically Formula One.
Okay.
I love musicals. If that music didn't give you an idea already, and by extension, films as well. Yeah, especially like really cinematic ones. Just over the top creative like Christopher Nolan and all that. Can't think of anything on top of my head that I dislike. But yeah,
So
I think I've covered all the bases, right?
Okay. So my reason for asking that question is even to talk about like everyday things. Like for example, do you hate doing laundry? Do you hate doing dishes?
Okay.
That kind of stuff.
Those stuff, yeah.
Do you?
I do hate doing dishes, yeah. But I have to do it every single day.
Right.
Otherwise, it'll pile up in my
Apartment.
It will pile up in my apartment.
Yeah.
And it does pile up.
Yeah.
But like all of us, 4 roommates who contribute to it, it really piles up. So like I have to clean it, do my dishes. Otherwise, it will never get done.
Yeah. That's fair. What made you move here from Malaysia, like study at UCL?
I think it's just like the idea of going overseas has always been something that my family has like prioritized and like just wanted me to experience, and even my brother as well. But he didn't really get the chance to. But my parents still encouraged me to like try my best to go overseas, and not to mention UCL also has a really good mass communications program anyway. Even beyond like just the media stuff, like they also teach us how to create, how to be creative with our filmmaking and all that. So I feel like I've gotten like probably the best possible experience in my college career, and learning all the skills I need to for like my professional career down the line. So I think I think that's probably like the 2 biggest factors that helped me like led me to come here.
How long have you been here now?
I've been here almost 2 years. Since fall 2022 was when I arrived here.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
And how do you think Oklahoma treated you so far?
I think it's been all right. I think it's pretty well. It's a vastly different change of pace from what I'm used to back home, especially since I live in like a metropolitan area back in Malaysia. So it's really fast paced. Everyone's moving quickly. You're getting from point A to point B all the time. You are you're always hustling. You're always working, getting to the next thing, and it's never. You rarely have a time to slow down and breathe.
Yeah.
And I mean you do get it, but like but everything's still moving at a fast pace, and compact streets and everything. So like it's just a lot going on, and there's always so much to do everywhere. But coming to Oklahoma, it's very different. Like there is barely any skyscrapers here. There are not as many cars on the street. if there are, they're all bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Trucks and all that kind of
trucks,
stuff.
exactly, F-350s and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just even just a slower lifestyle in general. And in Edmond, a lot of people know each other. So
Mm-hmm.
like I can even just walk out, go to Target, and somebody will be there that I recognize or I know, and we would like stop and make small talk. And I think Southern hospitality has been one of the biggest surprises to me in a very good way.
Mm.
Like just Oklahomans, they're so hospitable, so welcoming, and they will most of the time they will genuinely stop and like talk to you and make sure like, hey, you doing okay? How are you doing? And they'll actually like just catch up with you in the moment, even if you have like 5 minutes or 5 hours, or if they leave, you can walk past them. But yeah, Malaysia doesn't really have that unless it's like a good friend of yours that you see on the street. And but generally, I think Sun Hospitality has been the biggest surprise to me.
Mm.
Other than like the change of pace and lifestyle.
Sure.
Yeah.
What were some experiences that you had, like more specifically with Southern hospitality, firstly? And second of all, why do you think that Malaysia doesn't have a similar culture?
Yeah, I'll start with Oklahoma.
Okay.
I think my first exposure to that was really when I was picked up from the airport when I arrived in OKC. So Charlie, he's the campus pastor for Chi Alpha, which I'm part of, campus ministry. So he picked me up he picked me up and
Can you please elaborate on what Chi Alpha is? You mentioned campus ministry.
oh yeah,
What
so
is that?
sure, yeah. So Chi Alpha, we are, like I said, we are a campus Christian fellowship.
Okay.
And yeah, so basically we just meet every single week in different small groups. We just come together,
Yeah.
and just like talk about Christianity, talk about life, talk about the Bible.
Sure.
And every Thursday we have a larger group gathering, and we'll just come together, hang out, eat some food, and usually we have a bit of like worship, Christian worship, and even somebody will have a bit of a sharing as well, just sharing from the Bible or from like a particular life topic and whatnot. And yeah, it's a very wholesome community, really tight knit community as well. And we all just love coming together, and we love meeting new people and bringing them in as well, making them feel at home, making them feel welcome. To me, that has been like a home away from home, essentially. Yeah.
Right.
And as a Christian, like to me, that's very important to have a community
Sure.
to base it. Yeah.
Sure.
And yeah, so now back to the previous question.
The second question was, why does Malaysia not have a similar
Yeah.
culture, you think?
Yeah, but I wasn't done with the earlier one, so I'll go back to
Oh,
that. But
sure.
yeah, no, it's okay. But yeah, Charlie, like I said, he's a campus pastor. He picked me up, and out the gate, he was like super nice, and but also really talkative. He loves to talk. I thought I was talkative, but he's on another level. Like he can start a conversation out of nothing.
Yeah.
And when there is a kind of like you feel like the conversation is going nowhere and like it's gonna break, he will save it and bring it back around. Like it's another thing. It's a whole thing. Like he's just has a way with words, a way with people. Very extroverted, very sociable, loves people in general. And then like as I stayed here more and more, I will see people like I'll be walking around campus and somebody just go, "Hey, how's it going?" But in Malaysia, all you get is like it's kind of a nod.
Right.
Yeah, especially if you make eye contact, then we will nod at each other, but we won't really like outright talk to each other. Mostly if you're strangers. And I think Malaysia, we are not to this extent of hospitable, at least out in public and on the street. I think it's mostly to do with just like, again, I think just the pace of life. Everyone is going somewhere, and but even if you're like just walking down the street in like the shopping district and just or a shopping mall and just hanging out, more often than not, if you're with like your family or group of friends, they already have like your priority, already have like our attention.
Yeah.
But I think I think that also goes beyond just like social cues, also like even cultural to an extent. Like I feel Malaysia and most Asian countries in general, we generally just kind of like mind our own business. I think most Americans can kind of relate when they like, especially from the South, if they go to the East Coast, like New York, Boston, Massachusetts, they talk about how like no one there like will acknowledge you on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll just walk past you. But if they acknowledge you, they're probably cussing you out.
Right.
Especially in New York.
Yeah.
Malaysia, we're not that bad.
Right.
We won't cuss you out unless you give us a really good reason to.
Sure.
Like you be You cut us off in traffic or something. Maybe.
You can curse, by the way, so if you want to, you want not.
Yeah, I don't curse.
Okay.
At least I try not to. But yeah, but generally Malaysia, we're not. I don't think we're that bad. But we like I said, like I think it's just cultural thing where we mind our own business, right? We get from point A to point B, or we're just hanging with our friends and we just have each other's attention, and we don't really feel the need to like break out of that and have to talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
And like or acknowledge like some other person on the street. Otherwise, we'll end up acknowledging everybody on the street.
Right.
And not all of us have the capacity to do that.
Sure.
So yeah, I think that's the biggest reason why.
Yeah, because I mean, I do appreciate this sort of positive aspect of complimenting someone when you're walking by the street, or at least or walking past each other on the street.
Yeah.
Or even a smile on the face, right? I think that definitely goes a long way. But yeah, I kind of can relate to that. Like with places in India as well, everybody's just sort of minding their own business. They're sort of go. They're just living in their headspace and their mind palace, if you will, pretty much. So
your headspace is right. Yeah.
Right, but over here, I guess that change of pace in terms of life as well probably has something to do with it. How has that affected you positively or negatively? Like just the change of pace in life.
I think it's taught me to kind of slow down a little bit. But to an extent, like I've even slowed down too much to the point where I just don't do anything. Yeah, I've had like periods of time where I've done that, fall into that, and like not to mention other life circumstances as well that play a role.
Could you say that again?
Like other life circumstances.
Okay, gotcha.
That kind of just feed into that, and like I end up just not being able to do anything at all.
Yeah.
Like I've had a few things happen since being here, so those things do come up and they're out of my control.
Sure.
But yeah, what was the question again?
Just like how the change of pace in terms of the way life moves, how has that affected you?
Yeah, like I said, like it's taught me to like just slow down and just kind of like appreciate life a bit more.
Sure.
Take it one step at a time, rather than trying to get to like point B and then do my stuff there and then get to the next thing and then the next thing. But here, like it kind of given me like the environment to enjoy life a bit more. Especially since like I don't have like my own viable mode of transportation. Like I don't have a car here or like a bicycle. At least I haven't gotten one yet. So I can't really go that many places. If I have to, it's probably on foot or like a friend with a car or Uber, but they're not cheap.
Uber is expensive.
Yeah. So yeah, being mostly I think confined to like this vicinity, at least on campus and like my apartment, I think it's let me just kind of just slow down a little bit and just enjoy life, like I said. And it does also like it does kind of also help me like focus on like what I need to do as well. It's even giving me the space to like really, especially when I have to like kind of just pause and just reflect on a lot of things, especially recently, like the pageant when it ended, like I had all
Can you elaborate on what that is for someone who might not know?
Yeah. So the international scholarship pageant is a UCO. It's something that happens on our campus every single year. It's hosted by the International Student Council, and International House. It gives students a platform to like kind of just show their culture off,
right?
Show their even themselves. Just put them give them a platform to, and how do I say this? Yeah, it gives a platform, and it gives them a goal to strive for. Whereby at the end of it, by the end of the pageant itself, you get a scholarship award, and you also get a title of Mr. and Miss UCO International.
Yes.
And the year you're in.
Which you were awarded last year.
I was, 2023-24.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and you also do like not only that, when you win, you have a platform you're given, like a kind of like a task in a way. Yeah. It's like your, how do I explain it?
I guess you could say like a mission that you want to carry out during your time as royalty on campus.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I had to execute that mission as well, and that also is like a determining factor whether or not you get your prize, your scholarship, at least the full amount. Yeah. You were also king, so like you knew what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. Granted, I was ages ago. Okay. But anyway, you were sort of talking about the change of pace and how it sort of made you appreciate life a little more.
Yeah.
Do you think people I mean, I, I might have asked this question to someone else, but do you feel like because of the quickness of life back home that people don't appreciate life, or is that just a different way of appreciating life?
I think it's up to depends on the individual.
Sure.
It differs from person to person. But I've always been somebody who always wants to be out and about. I love going out, hanging out with my friends, being like away from outside of the house, because at home, I will do nothing at home, if I'm going to be so honest. Like COVID, COVID taught me a lot in terms of like having to shift that, but change that around and actually like genuinely be productive at home. But even before COVID and after, like when the rules were like relaxed a little bit, I'll always be out and about. Like if I have the choice, I would choose to always just go out and go to a bigger city and a nearby city and just find all my friends who live there, because I actually live I live 15 minutes away from everybody and everything else. So I'm willing to make the drive out there and just hang out with them all and do anything. And so like I never really gave myself the space to like slow down and just be with myself. I never really allow myself to like just be with myself, like I said, yeah. And here, like, I kind of don't really have that choice. I mean, obviously, we all live around campus or on campus, and all our friends are here. But there are times where you just need to like take a break and go away from it. So like that gives me more of an option to do that as well. And I've been taking more of that like by moving off campus and just going back home and just like being with myself. And like I said earlier, having this kind of environment, just suburban area, and just not a lot of activity to do, generally has helped me to like just be able to like I said, reflect, slow down, and just sit with myself, learn how to just be in my own headspace, in my own space, not like anywhere, and really spend time to just reflect and just spend time to just collect my thoughts and everything. And yeah, I don't think it's something that I've done that's necessarily done like a whole lot back home. Yeah, but I've definitely done that a bunch of times as well, since I had to come here. So I had to think about it and to make all the big decisions, plan everything out. So like obviously I had those moments as well. Yeah. So
you mentioned the reflection aspect of it, that you've sort of obtained from seeking that solitude. If you're comfortable sharing, what have you learned from seeking that solitude about yourself or about life in general?
I'm gonna speak about recency, because that just happened most recently. Like it was when I passed my crown on this year's international pageant. I basically, once we got back home, yeah, after the pageant we had an after party. Like we stayed really late out, and then once we got back to campus, I just sat with like the new king, Albert, because he's a friend of mine, and we just talked for like hours. And we both only like decided to go to bed at like 5:30, or at least like part ways at 5:30 a.m. On Saturday morning. And the day after that, I obviously I went to bed at like 6:30 a.m.
Yeah, that's wild, but yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I still woke up at like noon-ish, I think.
Okay.
Or like after that, and then like I spent most of the day just reflecting on it. And I kind of reflected on like the entire like year I've had as royalty. Reflected on this pageant journey exclusively. Reflected on what I've done as royalty. I reflected on even other things surrounding it, like beyond just being royalty, like how the year has been overall. And
for you personally?
For me personally, exactly. Yeah. And
you're good.
Not eating anything yet.
You're good.
But yeah, I think it's just given me even more of a motivation, like to just press on and do more things. Because I think personally, like just being so real, I don't think I've done a lot like in my year as Mr. UCO. At least in terms of campus involvement, I wasn't like too proactive. I didn't do much. I wasn't in a lot of student organizations. My priority was basically just like doing royalty things when I had to, and also like Chi Alpha ministry because I'm a leader in Chi Alpha, so like I had to. I'm one of the leaders, so I had to. My priority was there,
Sure.
and but then I think during that time of reflection, I just realized I kind of like I just felt like I could do so much more, and that has actually like, and I've begun like since then I've begun like putting into some work and effort to planning out what I want to do in the next semester, the fall semester. I I was hoping for it to be like into the spring as well, but I will graduate this fall, and I don't intend to extend my graduation, for no reason. I mean, campus involvement is good and all, but and they're resume builders, but um, it's not the worst thing if you don't have any or little. And I've been involved on campus, so like it's not that I don't have anything to show for, but I I I I don't need like a whole other year just to get more experience.
Campus involvement
Campus
experience.
involvement
Yeah.
specifically, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think my resume isn't empty, so like I
Right.
think I'm fine, and I have all the skills experience to show for it, and yeah, and and the whole other semester is a long time in between graduation dates, so like I just prioritize the fall graduation anyway. But since that, I think up to a week of reflection, not just the day itself, but because like yeah, that 1 week since I passed the crown on, like it was a little bit hard because like the crown was a big part of my life, like for the last year, and it was something that I held so dearly to my heart. I didn't even realize it till like I had to pass it on, and then that's when it really sank in that like, yeah, I'm no longer gonna be king. I'm not gonna walk on campus anymore and have people like recognize me for the title
because that was part of your identity essentially.
It was, yeah. I grew into it,
Right.
and it grew on me as well. And I mean, I didn't necessarily enjoy the fame at all too much. But I just felt that like, in a way, like it's just a. I do feel recognized. I do feel seen. Like I mean, it's here and there for me. Like there is the thing where like I enjoy being recognized, but then part of me is just like, no, don't look at me. Yeah, because I think I fall into like the middle. Like I'm an ambiverted. I can be extroverted on a good day, introverted on like a really good day. But yeah, I digress. I mean, but yeah, it's been like a really good journey for me. It's been a hell of a ride. I've learned a lot of lessons throughout, and I just spent that 1 week after reflecting on all of that, and that's what's like kind of spurred me to motivated me to like want to do more in the fall. Yeah.
Okay. This is probably going to be a little loaded, so I'll unpack it a little further. How much of it do you feel like it's maybe not so much that you've not done enough, but that you have higher expectations of yourself?
Yeah. Like how, like you want me to elaborate on that basically?
Yeah. The reason I'm saying that is because it's always for like people who generally tend to expect more of themselves. You always feel like you've not done enough. You always feel like you could be doing more. You could be doing this better. You could be doing that better.
Yeah.
But sometimes in certain moments, your 100% is actually just a 40% because that's all you have to give.
Yeah.
Kind of. So I'm just curious to know. I'm not saying that that's what happened with you, but I'm just curious to know if that has a role to play in it. Like if you have higher expectations of yourself, and that feeds into that.
Right. Yeah. I think that is mostly the case, to be honest with you. Yeah, like I do have high expectations for myself,
which is a good thing.
Yeah,
which is a very good thing.
But I think I feel like I set myself the expectations when I came into this last school year. I think it wasn't that high to begin with, and that was why I kind of look back and I do have a bit of regret in a sense, a bit of guilt. But it isn't a bad thing, like really, like that I didn't set myself enough expectations. I didn't give myself room to like do more things, because but there's also the big thing where like for me, I was actually approached to given the opportunity to like to step up to be the president of the Malaysian Student Association last year for this school year 2023-24, but I didn't take it, mainly because at that point of time I saw my priorities elsewhere.
Yeah.
I put them elsewhere, like especially like Chi Alpha,
Right.
the Mr. UCO, and among other things. Can't name others off the top of my head, but
That's okay.
yeah, but at least those two were the biggest priorities for me, and then obviously my academics as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also like working part-time on campus,
Yeah.
so I need time and space for that as well,
Right.
because I cannot stretch myself too thin. And knowing myself, I'm like a chronic procrastinator. So like I, at least back then, I knew that like I could not give myself too much to do on my plate. Otherwise, like if I cannot do all of them well or excellently, then all of it will just fall short. So to me, like I wanted to build myself up first. That is why. And then I kind of came to that point in this last couple of weeks where like I felt, yeah, I probably should have done more. And but then I look back and remember that like, yeah, you weren't even like in a good spot to begin with. At least the best possible place. I don't think I'm in the best possible spot either at this point of time, but like for me, like at least I've seen where I was, see where I am now, and there is some growth.
Right.
And I'm only trying to like just go forward. And and yeah, like expectations that I set for myself is definitely a big thing. But that's a lot of like after the fact. But now like looking ahead, I think it's I'm also setting myself new expectations, especially in the summer, new plans, new goals. And just to work on myself, work on like what project I have, focus on what I have in the summer, like an internship and also my classes as well, an online class specifically throughout the summer semester. Just gonna focus all on that, and then in the fall I'm gonna have like one last hurrah, one last big outgoing, just go all out and just finish it off.
Yeah.
And but I need to start like this like but this point of time is where I start because my procrastination isn't to sort it out, and among other things as well, other issues, even like time management, and all that. So like, yeah, it's I think expectations can be a killer of joy. As long as but if you don't put them in the right place and channel them correctly.
Yeah.
Especially since I think I do beat myself up a lot for not like meeting my own expectations.
Yeah.
I know other people have like high expectations of me too. That's why to me like I kind of also feel like a bit guilty that like, you know what, yeah, I kind of let people down. But then like every time I'm in my own space and I just think back for myself, I'm like, yeah, I could have done so much better, and I end up beating myself out of it. I am my own worst critic, and I don't like that about myself.
Me too, man.
But
Me
yeah.
too. I relate completely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just so kind of like you said, expectation sort of kills the joy out of a lot of things. For me personally, what I've learned over time is having expectations of other people. And again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have expectations of other people. Like in the relationships that you have with people, friendships, romantic relationships, familial relationships, whatever it may be, you should have some expectations there. But I think you should also have those realizations of like certain boundaries within those expectations.
Yeah.
Similarly, I think this is something that I'm still sort of figuring out myself. I have a lot of expectations of myself, but how much of it can I actually achieve? Like you also have to be a little realistic about where you can get. And shooting for the stars is great. And I think you should, because you're going to put yourself in the best possible situation to try and get as close as you can.
Right.
So I don't think you should necessarily cut yourself short. But at the same time, I think the other important thing that I've had to realize more over time is I shouldn't necessarily attach my worth to the outcomes of my actions, if you will. Because I think if you attach your self-worth to, okay, I did 10 different things this semester, I'm good enough. Versus, oh, I didn't do 5 of those 10 things, I'm not good enough. I think those can really mess you up internally.
Right. Yeah.
And sort of put you out of your equilibrium, so to speak, to be able to like even do the basic things that you do in everyday life.
Yeah.
So,
I also had a professor like told our class this, like, because we take journalism classes,
Mm-hmm.
and one of our professors, he's the goat, Mark Hannibit. He told us like you gotta separate yourself from your work. Like your worth isn't in your work, and he's saying that mostly from like a subjectivity and objectivity point of view.
Yeah.
But from there he also does like translate it in the sense that like you are not your work. Your articles you write, the stories you tell in regards to like the media or a journalistic point of view may not be the best, but don't let that tear you down as a person. Don't tie that to your identity. Don't let that tie to your worth as a person, like you said. And you are more than the work you output. You're
Yeah.
more than your career, more than your involvements on campus, I should say, even. Like, you can have an impact on your industry, on your friend groups, on your career, your other the campus as well, more than just how you're involved, even just yourself as an individual, your authentic self. You can have a greater impact overall. Like if you're just a genuinely nice person, you help everybody, you and whatnot. Like I think can go further than just doing all the good stuff. Doesn't mean you don't be involved and doesn't mean you don't do things and do things well, but like I think strength of character and just who you are as a person will like is the best thing you can do for yourself. Like just work on that, build yourself up, and in turn that will translate into everything else you do. Yeah. So it starts from like yourself before it goes into everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, because to sort of add on what you mentioned, your professor said, your work is part of your identity. It's not all of your identity,
Yeah,
right? Because
exactly.
outside of work, like you've already touched on,
Mm-hmm.
you're many different things.
Exactly.
You're a son to your parents. You're a friend to your friend group.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who might be like you said you were a leader in Chi Alpha.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of different things that you do.
Right. Yeah.
So I think like reminding yourself of those things also can be very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, I feel like that's a very fine line because
Mm-hmm.
there is complacency on the other side of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily a tightrope. Maybe it is, depending on an individual's situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's very important to realize where your worth is exactly,
Yeah.
and that it's not solely on your accomplishments.
Right. Yeah.
But I think it's always good to sort of shoot for the stars and like do the best that you can.
Yeah.
Give it
absolutely.
all that you have, and then like leave the rest to the universe, to God.
Yeah.
Because you have no control over the outcome of what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I say this, but I have to like, I personally am working on believing in it more and
Mm-hmm.
having faith in the process of
Yeah.
what God might have planned.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I think it's very easy to sort of lose sight of the fact that you don't control what someone else chooses to do.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing you control is your actions and the best you can do. So
Mm-hmm.
do the best you can, leave the rest.
Definitely.
Kind of is sort of something that I've had to remind myself of, and I still continue to remind myself of. You mentioned faith initially, and I'd like to dig into that a little further.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing you grew up in a religious household, or was that?
Yeah, it's I grew up in a religious house. We are Christians in my family. My mom is the first one, and then she raised me and my brother as Christians, took us to church and everything, and then my dad came to faith as well, like later on. Yeah, but there's like just a quick summary, but
Sure.
really, I mean, it's a cool story to tell. Like I like to tell people about this story, but like my family started going to church in a cult, and we didn't know it was a cult because like it differs very strangely from like normal Christianity. Like if you ask any Christian about what that church believed in, that community believed in, and like I told them what they did, they'll be like, huh, what? So basically, like most Christians, like mainline Christian denominations, we believe that yeah, Jesus is the Son of God. He came down to earth from a virgin in a virgin's womb, and he's God incarnate, born as a human, born as a baby. He lived on this earth a perfect life, taught his ministry, and then he died for our sins on the cross. And then 3 days later, he rose from the dead, and now he's alive in heaven, ascended back to heaven, and all that. So like, that's essentially the gospel, like summarized.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So all Christians believe in that. That's like in the Nicene Creed and all that. But then this community that we started in, my mom found faith there first, and then brought me and my brother there. They do believe in all of that, but they add a little bit more to it, and it's very whack. They believe that Jesus' death on the cross, in mainline Christianity, his death on the cross is like the ultimate price paid for our sins of the world.
A sacrifice.
Exactly. It's like
Everybody's
the perfect lamb, like sacrifice for the past, present, and future of all our sins. So like every sin we've ever committed and will commit is all been forgiven for. And now, because he died and rose from the dead, death has been conquered and we have salvation. But this cult they went to, they believe that Jesus' death was only part one of two of this redemption arc. Jesus only paid the price for our sin, but we don't have salvation yet. So Jesus has a younger brother who has to die, and then we can then go to heaven and have salvation. And this younger brother is some old Chinese dude in Malaysia. He pastors that church.
Okay.
So he basically built the whole cult around him. And it was whack. Like it was so whack. And
what's the name of this church?
Yeah, it was called Dove Assembly.
Okay.
Yeah, you would think it's an Assemblies of God church, but it's not. It's its own thing. Maybe it started out as an Assemblies of God church, but like it kind of turned its own thing.
Right.
And yeah, there are a lot of people in the area that it was in actually knows about that cult, and they are like, oh, I'll tell them like, oh, it's that thing. I'm like, oh, that building. Okay, yeah. Then I'm like, yeah, that building. Yeah, so like, it's nuts. And
it's
then,
nuts but funny at the same
right,
time.
yeah. I forgot which year. I think 2008 or 2009. The pastor passed away. He passed on.
This older gentleman.
Exactly. Yeah. This nice gentleman. So basically, all of us had the belief that like, yeah, we now have salvation. But the church still persevered. The church carried on. It wasn't the church didn't end there. But only the church elders took over. But no one rose to the pastoral role. So there was no one sole lead figure to lead the church. No pastor. But the elders basically just started, at least according to my mom, she started just scolding everybody from the pulpit, just bashing everybody, just yelling at them, making them all just feel very bad about themselves. And then
this is one of the elderly people.
One of the elders of the church, yeah. So there are many elders, so like one of them, or like all of them, because even in the latter days of like this pastor being alive, even he like also started scolding people from the pulpit, which is a big no in church. If you have
the pulpit is where they stand up front
exactly
in church. Okay.
The altar where they preach from, like the pulpit, the podium, yeah.
Okay.
So you never scold people from the podium.
I see.
Unless like the entire church royally screws up.
Okay.
But generally
it has to be royally.
Exactly. But generally pastors shouldn't. I personally believe pastors or priests should not scold their congregation from the pulpit.
Okay.
Even if it's just one person. You talk to them in private if they did something wrong.
Pull them aside kind
of thing. Exactly. Yeah, have a one-on-one with them. But you never scold the entire congregation or just one person from the pulpit. You never target people. Even in public speaking scenarios.
Right.
And then so the story continues where like five individuals left the church, and then immediately the entire congregation ostracized all of five of these men, called them rebels, and even ostracized all their close family members and friends. One of these men happened to be a family friend of ours, and because everyone knew that we are friends with that individual and their family left the church. We stayed on a little bit longer, and even then, like we were also ostracized. My mom because we are linked to them,
and guilt by association, sort of.
Exactly. So we, my mom had a bunch of nasty things said to her, and at her, and I don't know what they were, but it took a toll on her mentally. Even myself, as an 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid, imagine your best friend at the time telling you, "I don't want to play with you anymore. I don't want to be your friend anymore." Yeah, like that is. I took that. I was not in a good spot. Like I was only like an 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid, and loving life, just wanting to play with my best friend all the time, playing our Transformers and all that.
But now that's gone away.
Exactly, because she straight into my face. I don't want to be your friend anymore.
Damn.
Yeah, I remember crying a lot, and then like we put up with that for like a few months, and then my mom had enough, and she just took us out of the church, and we left the church. A bunch of our friends left as well. So, and all of us were stuck in like a limbo where we don't know where to go. We didn't find a church. We had no community in. So we were just like existing
Right.
outside of a church, but we still held on to faith. We still had faith, a little bit of faith at least. And then our family friends found another church, and they said, "Hey, come join us. This church is good. This church actually preaches on the truth of the gospel." And then we went there. I was brought to the children's ministry, and there I truly found Jesus. I truly had faith in Christ then. I remember like after going there for a few Sundays, I went back to my bedroom, and I knelt down at my bed and like started praying to God and saying like, I'm sorry that we didn't know like we were in like a wrong church that taught the wrong things. And now thank you that we found the truth. I'm like kind of paraphrasing what I said because
Sure.
I was like 10 years old. I don't remember what I said, but
That's okay.
but I remember kneeling down and just like praying to God, just repenting of like, and just asking Him to like continuing to lead me down the right path. And there in that church, I learned so much about the Bible I never knew before. Like, I believe that even in church, like as a young kid, you can learn a lot from the Bible. You can learn a lot, and it was in that new church was when I learned so much. I learned like about the Ten Commandments. I learned about who this person Jesus is. I learned about what some of the stuff he did while he was alive on earth, and what he's still doing today while he's no longer physically on earth, and all that. So like, I learned about all these famous Bible heroes like Moses, King David, the Apostle Paul, the 12 disciples, and all that. And yeah, so like I grew a lot in that church, um, and we left that community because it was a really big church. To be fair, it's called SIBKL. It's abbreviation for Sidang Injil Borneo, Kuala Lumpur.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's a church that started on the island of Borneo, and then they brought one branch to Kuala Lumpur,
Kuala
the
Lumpur.
capital city of
Sure.
Malaysia. So Sidang Injil, I think it means like evangelical church, I think. Yeah, evangelical movement or something. Yeah. So we're kind of like a evangelical church. Is kind of our denomination. Yeah.
Okay.
Pentecostal evangelical. Yeah. And but yeah, my mom wanted a smaller community so that she can like go directly to the pastor, the senior pastor, I should say, to like directly be discipled by him and also like just talk with him directly. So we found another smaller church, and we went there for a good few years. I went back and forth because they didn't have a proper youth group, and by the time I was stepping into my teenage years, and my parents saw the importance of me growing up with a group of people my age, being able to learn, navigate life together, and just grow more in my faith with fellow peers. So they took me back to the older to SIBKL, and that's where I grew up in the youth group called Narrow Street. And then I continued to grow up there, and then when I started to gain my own independence, whereby I got my own car, I decided that okay, I'll stay in that church because I found my home there. And then I left my parents' church, went back there, called my home church. I went there by myself. I brought my brother sometimes because he would not be faithful to a church at all. And for a time he did. He came with me willingly, I should say. And really, we all just found our home in that church. And I continued to like serve there, volunteer there, even stepped up to leadership roles there. And I stayed until I came here. I still have many friends back there. I still keep in touch with them as best as I can. And that's the community I want to go back to as well. And yeah, SIBKL has been instrumental in my growth as a Christian. I learned a lot of biblical truths there, growing my theological knowledge as well, which made me even want to grow more in my theological prowess as well, theological understanding, more than just even beyond just all 66 books of the Bible, even look towards Judaism, where Christianity grew out of, and even look at other like Abrahamic religions, especially like Islam as well. See why they disagree with us and where they differ from us. How did they like think about us as well?
Sure.
And yeah, this intellectual journey has like took me places as well. Like I've been able to like talk to people of other faiths, even like people from like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Even I had to have conversations with them and like challenge them as well. Even have my position challenged, but be able to even defend my position. That's what I feel is very important to me.
Yeah.
And defend in like a not in argumentative way, but like in a civil way,
Yeah, like in a conversation, you're just sort of
exactly
standing for your beliefs and your position.
Yeah.
I just want to jump in really quickly.
Yeah, sure.
the Church of Latter-day Saints. Essentially, they're known as Mormons. Who've actually spoken to one of them a little while back for the podcast. But anyway, continue.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they're very interesting individuals.
Yeah.
But yeah, and being here in America for the first time, like being in Chi Alpha, and then in the church I attend now, it's called Spring Creek Assembly. Really lovely people. I love all of them. Even they have helped me grow in faith, helped me grow in Bible knowledge as well. And yeah, that's just the journey I've been on now. And yeah, and even this last couple of years in the US, like I have to accredit it all to God. Even coming here in the first place, because my family, we're not financially well to do. We're not sending me here like is essentially an arm and a leg, to put it simply, not to even put it lightly. But like that doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of our financial situation. But they still, my parents, they had that goal for me from like very early on. Like my mom already told me early on, like I'm gonna send you overseas somehow, one way or another. I'm gonna send you overseas. My dad is also on board with that because they knew the experience would be really good for me.
Yeah.
And in terms of like career aspects back home as well, if I were to bring my certificate home, like it would be pretty good as well.
It carry a lot of weight.
It does carry, since I'm bringing an international degree.
Yeah.
Especially one from the United States.
Right.
And yeah, the status from, I think just university status from the US in general is just pretty high. Even though it's not an Ivy League school, but like it's still pretty high, let alone being UCO, having like one of the best mass comm programs in the state, let alone the nation. And we do have one of the best newscast programs in the nation, student-led newscast programs, I should say.
Which is U Central.
Exactly. U Central News, yeah. And I had the privilege to work there for this last 2 semesters. I will work there too next semester, especially since it's election night. There will be election night, and I'm so excited for
November,
that.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that. To work that event, to do the coverage for that. But yeah, it does carry a lot of weight, and but even coming back to faith, yeah, God did make the way for us. The entire like application process, the visa process, it went super smoothly. When anything could have gone wrong, like anything. Like I've had experiences where I applied for stuff and everything just went wrong completely. But we prayed a lot for this entire journey just to get me here, and it all went very smoothly. There were barely any hiccups in the road, and it just seemed right. And even being here, I've had a lot of situations where things gone wrong, but God always was able to just bring me back and set me back on the right track. He brought people into my life to speak into my life and just be able to just like say, hey, Titus, you're not going the right way. Come back, get on the right track. And for me, I feel to have people in your life to be able to tell you, to be able to rebuke you and tell you that you're not doing the right thing. And even being that person in other people's life, that yeah, you're not doing the right thing. Like, it's very important, I think. You need to surround yourself with people who are able to encourage you, but at the same time tell you when you are messing up and when you're not doing right. Call you out when you are doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And more so, be there for you at your lowest points, when you're grieving something or like you lost something. And like God has sent these people in my life now, and I've seen a lot of things in my life that happened that that is just impossible for me to not believe that God is so real and so present in my life, that I just have to give him the glory for it. I just have to give him the credit for it. Even winning the crown was really him, honestly, because I had no confidence in myself. I just told him like, yeah, I'll give you the glory. I'm going to be on stage. I will be showing my talent. I'll be showing myself, but I don't want that to be the case. I want it to be you. That's why when for my performance, well, I should say performances, from my pageant when I won and this pageant when we were giving the crown off, I decided to sing like Christian songs because I can play the piano, I can sing as well. So I decided to play a Christian song, and instead of
you'll perform together, right? Sion and yourself.
I did, yeah. For this outgoing pageant, we performed together. We also sang a Christian song.
Yes.
Yeah, and for us, Soren and I, we're both believers,
Yeah,
and we feel
I've spoken to her on this. Yeah, we've touched on that. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah, but like yeah, we feel strongly that it is not us, it's him.
Mhm.
And throughout the entire journey, of all the hardships, of all the rocky patches, bumps in the road, and everything, we still all the outcomes are still very positive
Yeah.
in the end, and we see that as only God. It's only God who could help us with that. Like he, because both of us, we have our own difficulties, we have our own hardships,
Sure.
and I have my own shortcomings as well. Many disappointments along the way as well from both of us, and in the end of the day, we're still able to work together, still able to produce the best results, and just put on the best display possible, especially like at iFest, at our own event that we organized, like a cultural night at Will Rogers Elementary School, where we brought like a bunch of UCO students with us, representing their own countries. They set up booths, and we just basically just have like one mini iFest.
Yeah.
In elementary school, it was really fun, and yeah, throughout all of that, we still saw God in everything. We were able to see where God has helped us, where God has like just given us an assurance that it'll be okay, given us a peace of mind beyond our own understanding. Because truth be told, even Song can tell you this, like if God was not in the picture, we would be probably be yelling at each other all the time. Like I don't think we could work together too well, I think. Yeah, but we still were able to. We still collaborated well together. We still did the best we could for all our events, orientation, iFest, that event, and also the pageant. And obviously there's some bumps in the road, but
Sure.
we still managed to pull through and work together. And in the end of the day, I think I do feel that like God got all the glory in the end, especially with our performance as well. And yeah. Sorry, that was a lot.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You're good. I appreciate the fact that you went into that depth because
Yeah.
it shows how much you care about your faith, how faithful you are. So I appreciate you for sharing everything that you did. I was going to ask you, have you observed your faith change from the time you were a teenager to now? And the reason I ask that is because I'm of the opinion that as we grow older, our understanding of just scenarios in life changes, right? So what you know what you know when you're 15 about your religion, this is just coming from my personal opinion, because even I grew up in a religious household, practicing Hinduism and all of that, right? I think what I knew till I was like 13, 14 was just things that my parents taught me. But after that age, like from 15 and 16 onwards, or from 14 onwards, I'd say, like some of the experiences that I've had and so on and so forth, I think helped me develop a better relationship with my faith, if you will. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like I've kind of like I hit on earlier, like I have my up and down moments with faith, and like having to realize that I need to keep faith, not just in God, because I do have faith in that sense, but I guess faith in the process, if you will.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of that understanding has come from just growing older. So I'm curious to know, how have you noticed your faith change over time?
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, I think, yeah, on one hand, excuse me, as I grew older, like, obviously, you learn more things as you grow up, more life experiences come your way. And, like, from a teenager until now, excuse me, I've grown a lot in knowledge, in biblical knowledge, in theological knowledge. I've grown a lot in my faith as well. I've been back and forth as well. I'm not the most consistent, like, Christian. Because you can ask any Christian, they'll tell you like, but also depends on your denomination, right? But if you ask like most Christians, they'll tell you like, at least they'll tell you like you need to prioritize like reading your Bible, praying to God every day or as often as you can.
Yeah.
And that builds your faith. That builds your relationship with God.
Correct.
Because like, for like a Baptist, a Methodist, for a Pentecostal Christian, non-denominational too, they will tell you this, that like a personal relationship with God is the most important thing for a Christian. Yeah. Catholics don't necessarily fall on that line, but most other Christian denominations say that. Like, yeah, a relationship with God. And how do you build a relationship with God? You read the Bible. which is the Word of God, which is about Him. And then you talk to Him, you pray with Him, spend time with Him. That also builds a relationship, builds your faith as well. I wasn't always the most consistent in that. I've always been in and out. I've always needed like some accountability around me, some friends of a same belief in my communities as well, to be able to like spur me on and help me with that, help me through it. I had a lot of friends. I gained many friends in my teenage years who were even more further along in their faith, more knowledgeable in the Bible than I am, and I was. And because of them, I was able to expand like my Bible knowledge bank a lot more, grow in faith even more, trust God in the things where I previously didn't. Even my mom, to an extent, has been like a big pillar in my faith. Like she was the first Christian, like I said. She started like this legacy of faith. Like I would see
In
her
your family.
in my family, exactly. I see her pray all the time. I see her have this just unshakable faith. I see her just believe in the impossible, literal impossible, and it happens. Like she'll be in situations where there doesn't seem to be any way out. Like a tough situation, like for example, like maybe money wise, or like okay, or like a healing. Like she's dealing with gastric for a long time, gastric issues for like years since her like young adulthood, and then like she would believe for a healing, she would pray for healing constantly, nonstop, and then out of nowhere, she was just healed. She had no longer any of the issues. She can drink coffee again. She can consume acidic food things, eat citrus fruits as well, and like have no issues whatsoever.
Yeah.
And like it was like, wow, that's awesome. Obviously there's no way you cannot believe, at least to me.
Yeah.
And like she's always like taught me a lot of things in life, and just been like, it also been like helped me with my faith as well.
Sure.
Took me to a bunch of church conferences, seminars, and just hearing this preacher from Africa yell into the mic and just say, and just like literally spit fire. Not literally, but you know what I mean.
Right, like
yeah. And
like talking facts,
truths, yeah.
Yeah.
Like genuinely good things. And then like from there, like that has built a kind of like foundation in me to like just carry on. And even in my teenage years, like, and young adult years, up to this point, I've had many points of life where like I would kind of have my faith be tested. Like I would see like even God would just slip out of my mind. I was just like, okay, I need to do this thing. I need to like get over this. But then like I just see that like I'm not getting anywhere. And then I turned back to God. I just began to rely on Him again. I began to pray to Him and just like, yeah, I can't do this, God. I surrender to you. Please help me. And then I get what I want. I get the results that I should get. I get the right outcome. And like it's just a very back and forth thing for me. It has been a very back and forth thing. But even through all the time, especially like 2019 was when I found like a much tighter group of friends that I could really grow in faith in, and really just do life together. And I'm friends with all of them to this day, at least most of them. Still pretty close with a lot of them, I think. And that's when like I think my faith grew exponentially. My Bible knowledge also grew exponentially. I learned a lot more about theology. I learned a lot more about life, and my outlook of life changed a lot as well. I think even in wisdom, and yeah, and I've grown a lot in that period, like 2019 into like COVID time. Yeah, that's what I think was most paramount in my growth as well. And the group of friends helped me the most, I think. Just come to terms with like stuff in life, be able to point me back to God. And it's also like a give and take. I also am that friend to them. They need encouragement. They're at a very low point in life. I speak life into them. I speak encouragement into them. And that showed me the value of like having genuine friendships, and that are based on God and on the Bible. And even in the Bible, you can see these friendships come out. You see like King David and his best friend Jonathan. They were so closely knit. It's described. Even the Bible describes it as like their hearts were basically intertwined with one another. And I genuinely saw that like in that season of my life. And I could not be more grateful for friendships like these. Even coming here, I tried as quickly as possible to find one, and I found a couple of them. And yeah, and it's something I definitely needed. And even to this day, I'm not done yet. There's so much more I've yet to discover, so much more I've yet to learn.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so much more I have to grow. I'm still not the most consistent in my faith journey. My Bible reading, my prayer life is still not the most consistent. But even the people around me, and even like some people I discipled under me, like even they like are encouragement to me, just seeing them be so faithful to coming to Bible studies every week, so faithful to like actually taking my advice and encouragement and actually living it out.
Sure.
Like my most recent example, I have to share this, is his name is he's a fellow Malaysian. He's
Okay.
also a Christian.
If he's okay with his name being on this, then I'm okay with it. But yeah,
I'll ask him.
okay.
But yeah, but if not, you can censor it.
I can just censor it. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he came this semester. He came to my small group every single week faithfully, unless except for when he really could not, then he didn't. But most of the time he would come to our small groups, and I gave him a few pointers as well, because he was like a young Christian. He's only a Christian for a few years. Even then, he hasn't grown a lot. But
for a few years, I'm sorry to cut you off,
Mm.
but for a few years, as in he recently started believing in the faith, or
yeah, I think
Okay.
only like in his teen years, I think.
I see,
Yeah,
okay.
so he's only like 19.
Okay,
think,
okay.
19.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
No,
go ahead.
yeah, for sure, yeah. So he's only been a Christian for a good few years. He went to a church back in Malaysia, but he wasn't really knowledgeable on the Bible yet. So I told him like, yeah. So he's a really quick learner too. Like I'm genuinely impressed by how fast he learns, especially not only like his academics but also Bible stuff. I told him like start in the 4 Gospels, start from the book of Matthew, the Mark, Luke, and John. In the these are the first 4 books in the New Testament of the Bible, right? So I told him start from there. That's where you learn about Jesus, learn who he is, the life he lived, and what kind of person he is. Because us Christians, we all want to be like Jesus. We see the example of the life he lived, and we want to be just like him. Even the Apostle Paul wrote in his epistles, imitate me as I imitate Christ. And we try our best to imitate Paul, and even a more contemporary example would be our church leader, our pastors, the life they live. And I try my best to be a good example to my guys in my Bible study, because I'm a co-leader in my Bible study, so I try my best to live to live a life that exemplifies Jesus. I have many shortcomings, I will admit, and but beyond that, like we all do. But I still try my best to do the best I can. And but yeah, this guy, he has been just amazing. He's read through like most of the book of Matthew. He's arrived, I think he's now in the book of Mark, if not already in the book of Luke, the 3rd gospel. And like he's learned so much. He as much time as he can, he gets to in his day, he reads the Bible. He even sits down and just ponders on it, just meditate on it a little bit, just think about stuff he's read. And then every now and then I'll check up with him like, hey, how's the reading going? Then I was like, what's one thing you have learned so far? Then he'll bring up a specific passage and like just says, yeah, this, I saw the value in this, like, because I have a previous experience, and this taught me, this put it into perspective, and like, oh yeah, this genuinely is like helps me want to live a better life as a person, want to respond to situations better.
Sure.
Specifically, he brought up, I think it was like Matthew chapter 6. It was about it's about like revenge, about forgiveness as well. Because you've heard the saying, right? An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But Jesus spins it around and he says, like in Matthew chapter 6, he says, like, I tell you that, I forgot what he said.
That's okay.
But he basically spins it around and like just sets a new standard. Like instead of revenge, forgive instead, and you turn the other cheek. You let the other person like hit you back, essentially.
Yeah.
Like he just says like turn the other cheek, literally. Like he asks you to walk 1 mile, walk 2 miles instead. And it's not saying like you submit to like the person punishing you or bullying you or a slave master to some extent, given the historical context.
In the biblical context and the historical context.
Exactly, yeah. But rather it's more of even just putting into life perspective. Like when somebody has an expectation on you, you go above and beyond the expectation. You give more out of it, and that more shows strength of character as a believer, as a Bible following believer, where you go above and beyond. You give more out of your own capacity. You give more, and I see that in his life. He's done that. he's grown to so much understanding as well. And yesterday, literally last night, we had our water baptisms at our last Chi Alpha service. It was another celebration. Every semester we have that. It's our last like big gathering service of the year, of the semester, I should say. We have an extended worship time, and we have student testimonies. They shared their testimonies, and also water baptisms. We started last semester, and last night we had 4 people. Kai was one of them, and he approached me and asked me if I would baptize him, and that was like genuinely one of the biggest privileges of my life, because I never thought I would baptize anybody, because I'm not a pastor or a missionary, and
But you can still baptize.
I didn't know I could, but for us in Chi Alpha, like I guess any leader can baptize anybody.
I see. Interesting. Okay.
So it wasn't just like the staff members who did it, but like even student leaders can. So he asked. So I didn't even know that was the case. So he asked me to do it, and I was overjoyed. I was very proud as a friend and a leader. I was also on the worship team. I was on the band. I played the piano and sang as well. So like during the baptisms, I had to like leave and get down there and like go baptize him, and got wet, obviously. I dunked the guy. Like it was amazing. And then went back straight up after we hugged and everything. But yeah, I think that I taught him a lot of things, I'm sure. But even he has taught me a lot of like, just like how even like a young Christian, in terms of like how young they have been how long they've been a Christian, but also how much they know about their faith, how little they know, so I don't think sometimes I don't feel qualified enough to lead still, but like I was still given the task, I was still given it, so I want to do the best I can. And I've learned a lot from him in terms of how a faithful believer can look like, how like somebody who's just always willing to learn, always willing to be teachable, willing to grow more and more. And even I still read the Bible, the same passages, and I find more out of it, which is always a beautiful thing to me. Like I can read the same thing over and over again and still learn something new. And I see that in my guys, especially him, especially Kai. And it's awesome, really. And and I think there's so much more to come, and I'm still going to disciple him in the summer and even this fall. So like, I'm excited. Yeah.
Super cool, man. For those of us who don't know, what is baptizing and what does that mean?
So it actually differs from so many different denominations.
Okay.
Like
generalistic
definition. But in general, even in the Bible, like water baptism basically is when like you go into the water and you come out, full immersion, and you come out. So for the denominations I'm in, especially like Chi Alpha, we're under we have a lot of support from the Assemblies of God Church of denomination, and so we are definitely a Protestant denomination. We have a similar belief to, I think, Baptists, and and it's basically, baptism is a very personal decision. It is a public declaration of your faith. So usually for water baptisms, even back home in Malaysia, my church as well, it believes in that as well. It is a personal decision, like I said. It is a public display of your faith, showing that you are committed to your faith and you want to follow Jesus for the rest of your life.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, and it's a public commitment. You even get a certificate for that in Malaysia, showing that you are a Christian and you're committed to it, committed to to your church, you're committed to your faith. And what else? And in the biblical context, it also signifies a renewal of oneself. Like even Jesus was baptized in the Bible. He was baptized by John the Baptist, and there is also the spiritual significance behind it is also really just shedding off your old self. You go into the water a sinner, you're full of dirt, you're dirty, it's your old self. You go into the water, fully immersed in, then all your sins are just washed clean, signifying the blood of Jesus when Jesus died on the cross. We believe that like when his blood, because his blood was flowing, because he was literally whipped 39 times with a whip with like nails on it at the end of it, so his flesh was torn off. So we believe that his blood signifies just it's a cleansing. It has cleansing power, and it still cleanses today, whereby our sins are continually being washed clean, even described as white as snow, to an extent that we're a clean slate. We have no sins. We have no record of our sin, at least in the eyes of God.
Right.
And when we get immersed in water, our sins are washed up clean. Our old identity is washed off.
Sort of like a rebirth in some sense.
In sense, yeah. So we come out of the water as a new creation, being reborn again as a Christian, and as a believer, and we're a new person already. We adopt our new identity in Christ, and yeah, so that is what baptism signifies the most. In all Christian, I think most denominations believe in this, like to some extent, either in spiritual aspect or literal aspect, physical aspect, where like you are a new person when you come out of the water, basically. Yeah, like some they baptize them as babies, and like Lutherans and Catholics, it's like for some denominations that is essential to your faith. Like you must get water baptized, but some like Baptists you don't require to. It's just a personal decision. You can do it if you want to.
Yeah,
more like a public show of your faith. At the very least, in Malaysia, in like my church, and I think most Protestant churches, the Methodist church, the Baptist church, evangelical, non-denominational as well, is, like I said, it's very personal. It is a public display of your faith, and you will actually be officially be registered as a Christian and a member of that church when you get baptized. So usually when you get baptized, it's like a big thing, very big deal. Your entire family will come. You invite some of your friends as well, even non-believers. Basically just telling them that I am a Christian and this is my faith and I'm committed for him the rest of my life. And it's up to you to trust, to believe in it or not. But I'm showing you as my friend and my family or relative that I want to follow Jesus for the rest of my life. And I've got to witness many water baptisms in my life. I was baptized when I was 13, but in my parents' church. But yeah, like it is very personal. It is a, like I said, public display. Like in a way, it kind of like locks it in a sense. Yeah, and it shows your commitment as well. And I think I've pretty much said it all. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, I just wanted you to elaborate on that because I know like rebirth is one of the aspects of it. I did not know this public approval kind of thing.
But yeah, but rebirth it is, yeah.
Right.
It signifies it.
Yeah, because I've seen like videos of like soccer players, for example, like getting baptized.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've seen it on social media, like floating. I think the one that I'm thinking about is Liverpool's goalkeeper, Alisson. Yeah. Anyway,
that's cool.
Yeah. Let's bring this to a gradual close.
Okay.
I know we sort of unpacked a lot in terms of faith and what that means to you and what it's helped you become as a human being. What are some of your guiding principles in life that help you keep going? Be that things from faith or just things outside of faith as well?
I think for me, everything ties back to faith.
Okay.
But I do have other like principles and values that are inspired from other places, but I can find a biblical truth tied to it. The biggest thing for me is this verse and saying, I don't know the exact verse that it comes from, but like it's something all Christians, all of us believe in. Yet not I, but through Christ in me, which means that we are. So, as Christians, we believe from the moment we receive Jesus, we accept Jesus as our Lord and Savior into our hearts. Our life is no longer our own life; it is Jesus, and we submit sovereignty to Him.
You're living for a higher purpose.
Living for higher purpose, exactly. Living for Jesus. So everything we do stems out of that, and for me, that's like the biggest. I think that's the biggest overarching one. Yeah. So like everything I do, it is through Christ and for Christ, not for myself. I have a lot to gain too, but really, I cannot do anything aside without Him. Aside from Him, I can do nothing. Aside from Him, I am nothing. My entire identity is in Him. So it kind of contradicted what we said earlier, because I said we said like you are more than your work and all that.
Right.
But to me, like everything translates from Christ.
Right.
Yeah. my faith is the one thing that is a thing that like is the center of everything. Jesus is the center of it all for me. So only through him and out of his truths, out of his principles, his values, everything else falls into place for me. And then I think even below that, like even coming from there, another principle I have is like to do everything with excellence. Yeah. I'm not necessarily able to achieve that all the time, but I've been able to. I've taught myself to like set an expectation where like even if I fall short, but if I can still even come close to it, it's good enough. Yeah. But I still strive to my best as possible to do everything with excellence, do everything better than good, better than best, to the best of my abilities, and just to give the best output possible.
Right.
Yeah. So even if I'm juggling multiple multiple responsibilities, wearing different hats, to do all of them well, do all of them excellently. I think that was what prevented me from like doing more in the last school year again, because
you wanted to do what you were doing to the best of your ability.
Exactly. And
being wishy-washy about everything.
Right. Yeah. And at that point of time, I felt I couldn't. It was beyond my capacity.
Yeah.
So that's why I took this 1 year to like grow in my capacity and be able to do more.
Yeah.
So and I feel now is the time I can. So I want to pursue that. But another value I have, another belief I have is that like we as humans are a mosaic of the other people in our life. You know what mosaic is, right? Like it's like a mural, a wall art with like different pieces of like tiles.
Yeah. I guess I know it as like a different form of tile. Like there's ceramic tiles, there's marble tiles, and there's mosaic as a material. But
basically it's just a piece of art made up of different small pieces of other things, different colors.
I see.
It comes together in a beautiful mural or a beautiful piece of art.
Right.
Different pieces of everything. It can be anything from like just tiles or even just a plastic bottle cap.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are a mosaic of the people around us. It also ties into another thing. I'm sure you've heard of this. Like you are the 5 closest people in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm going beyond that, because even other people in your life, as little as influence they have, does contribute a piece of themselves to you. And so for me, what that tells me is like I need to surround myself with the best possible people. Surround myself with like hardworking people. Surround myself with intellectuals.
Yeah.
Bible loving people as well, faith people as well. For me, like there's an added layer to that. So at least my inner circle, I need to have like people that I want to like have a bigger influence in my life, and they need to have a very positive influence. And I have a few friends I met recently as well, that I got close to recently, that actually spurred me to like want to do more and be more motivated to do more things. And other friends who tell me that like, remember at the end of it all, keep Jesus in the center of your life. So like that's what's important to me. And then outside the inner circle, there's smaller pieces of other people that I adopt to the point of even like small habits, like different things you say and different mannerisms. Like apparently here in the South, like they do a wave like this. Hey. They do like, hey. It's
really,
I don't know, it's a thing. And like they go, hey. Specifically you hold your hand like this.
Interesting.
I know, it's so funny. And I've adopted that too. I've kind of adopted that.
Okay.
Yeah, for whatever, I just see my friend go, hey. It's a weird way. Like usually you go, hey.
Right.
But you gotta.
It's much more of like a firm formation.
You gotta tense your hands up.
Right.
Hey.
Yeah.
Howdy.
Right.
But apparently to Nigerians, this means curses on your mom. So don't do it to a Nigerian. Yeah, not Nigerians specifically, or like some other African nations. I don't know, but I only know Nigerians. This is a very negative thing. So
right. It's kind of like how a thumbs up can mean different things in different cultures. Yeah.
And the finger point with an index finger. Yeah. Absolutely, so it's a funny thing, but even different mannerisms I have adopted too. I had this one colleague I had working when I worked in Starbucks. She said slay all the time. I started going casually, just going slay. When something positive happens, she says slay, I'll echo it back. Legit, like I'm easily influenced by other people, very easily, for better or for worse. But I've been learning to like only let the positive influences influence me.
Sure.
Yeah, because even in high school, I had a time where like everyone was just swearing all the time. I think when I was like 13 to 15 years old, I cursed like a sailor. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, to some people, it's not a bad thing, but for me, like, no.
Right.
So at some
I mean,
point,
those are the ideals you set for yourself. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. And I achieved it over time. I will admit I curse sometimes still, but I try my best not to.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, and what's another thing? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's like some of my core foundations I have in myself. Yeah.
Awesome.
Surround myself with really good people. That's a bigger one. Yeah.
Awesome. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Titus, for
Mhm.
sharing everything that you did.
Yeah.
I think we went into a lot of stuff that
Yeah.
I think I've talked to a lot of people about this.
Mhm.
But I always like talking about it because everybody I feel has a different approach, and because of their own life experiences, right? The way that
Yeah.
they see things is going to be very different.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you for like being open about a lot of these things and sharing them openly as well. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Of course. Yeah.
And yeah, for those of you listening and watching, thank you so much. We will see you guys next time. Adios.
Adios.